So we are at the Ace Hotel in Brooklyn, where Chris from Same Old has come over to New York to essentially document my found photograph collection. And inside the hotel room, he has kind of physically taken the archive from my house, brought it here to start the scanning process. And what I'm going to show you is kind of the beginning of this scanning process. It's not the be-all, end-all, but he has effectively gone through every photograph in the archive, which is essentially more or less every single photograph I've ever picked up on the ground, skateboarding in New York City or walking around in New York City from more or less the time that I started to do that, which is around the late 90s, to I found a photograph 5 days ago. So in here is that process, and I'll walk you through it. So essentially, Chris has stepped out for a second, and this is his hotel room. And more or less, if you really want to get into the nitty-gritty, so this box, and this is going back, this is not what I started housing this stuff in, but this is essentially, this bin has become the home for my found photograph collection. And you know, this goes into like everything from, you know, let's say a collection, or I kind of categorize this stuff the way I do most anything. So for instance, like this is like all the photo booth photographs that, you know, for the most part that I found. And they get kind of stored in one little section. And the Polaroids get stored in another little section, and the found negatives get stored in another section. But ultimately, all of this stuff kind of lives in this tank, if you will. And this is effectively pieces of photographs, right? I find ripped up photographs sometimes on the street. Sometimes there's only 2 pieces of it. The other ones are like in the wind or whatever, so I collect those. Sometimes I'm able to find all the pieces of a photograph, and you know, I'll put them all together and I'll tape it back up. I don't know if there's one around here, but if I see one. But essentially, we're in the process of going through, oh, here's a good example. So this one, you could see the tape, and I found this photograph ripped up, and it's 4 pieces. I found the 4 pieces on the ground, brought it back, taped it back together, and I have a whole collection of those. So, like I said, Chris came over to my house a few nights ago. He brought this box back here, and now he / we are going through and pulling out all of like the interesting photographs, and the goal is to kind of make a book of photographs. And you know, for instance, like, you know, this little section right here is like found pictures of notable people: David Dinkins, Mayor Giuliani, RuPaul, Eric Sermon. I don't know where the hell I found this, but that's Jackie Chan. Strange. This is a book signing with Boy George of Culture Club. But yeah, so, you know, here's another like ripped in half photograph. Oh no, this one's actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, been ripped up into 8 pieces. And it's funny because this goes back to like 2005, 2006, because I used an old Enjoy sticker to tape it back together on the back. Or a photograph like this, which is like water leaking out of a light post with some kid razor scootering. This is a fairly recent find. This picture of this girl doing a backflip into water. And you know, what's great about stuff like this is that it gets kicked around in the street, and essentially the actual print starts to get scratched, or you know, sometimes a rock will get stuck in there. Here's another great example of scratches on a photograph. You know, this one kind of, I paired this up with the fish photo, but that's a picture of somebody scuba diving. You know, or there's Polaroids, stuff like that. Just random stuff where you're like, you know, what the great thing is, like, you don't know the context of the photograph, so your mind creates the story for it. And now you try to like make up this like story of how, you know, why they were shooting this photograph, you know. Sometimes it's like mundane stuff, like, you know, maybe this is like for an insurance claim, you know, or here's the weird photograph of the clown. I don't know, you know, or you get the print that hasn't been cut yet of your son's basketball portrait. But for the most part, long story short, this is my found photograph collection.